There's a truth most people are not ready to hear, and even fewer are prepared to live. But you didn't find this video by accident. If you're here, it means something inside you has already begun to stir. A knowing, a remembrance, a whisper from the deepest part of your soul that says you're not like the others. And not in a way that feeds your ego, but in a way that calls you into responsibility. Because there's a spiritual role on this planet that only a rare few can fulfill. These are the ones who were never meant to fit in because they were born to bridge the worlds, to balance what others can't even see, to hold space for chaos and order, for light and shadow, for the infinite and the earthly all at once. These are the ones who can handle duality forces. And less than 1% of souls are truly prepared for what that requires. Let's be clear. Duality isn't just a concept, it's a force. A living, breathing tension between polarities that exists in everything. It's the dance between creation and destruction, love and fear, stillness and movement, the divine and the human. Most people unconsciously pick a side. They crave the light and reject the dark, or they get lost in darkness and forget the light was ever real. But a chosen one of the rare few who can truly handle duality doesn't run from either. They don't cling to comfort. They walk directly into the paradox. And they learn to hold it without collapsing, without judging, without trying to fix it. That's what makes them different. That's what makes them rare. But how do you know if you're one of them? How do you know if you're truly built to handle the immensity of duality without losing yourself? That's what we're going to explore. And we're not just going to talk about it like it's a theory, we're going to feel it, live it, remember it. Because the signs are not always loud. They're often buried beneath pain, confusion, or isolation. But once you see them, once you recognize them within yourself, you can never unsee them. And then the journey begins in a whole new way. The first sign is that you've never fully belonged anywhere. Not in your family, not in school, not in relationships, not even in spiritual communities. You've always felt like the outsider, the observer, the one who could never quite settle into a single role, belief, or identity. And while that used to feel like a curse, it was actually your first initiation. Because to hold duality, you cannot be fully of one world. You have to live between them. You have to float in the space where most people drown. You have to see the beauty and the illusion in everything. So ask yourself, have you been trying to belong in a world you were never meant to conform to? The second sign is that you've been through extreme polarity in your own life, not small shifts, extremes. You've touched the deepest despair and the highest bliss. You've known what it's like to be completely lost, and you've also tasted boundless clarity. You've been shattered and reborn more times than you can count. Why? Because duality must be felt before it can be mastered. You can't just read about it, you have to live it. And every heartbreak, every breakdown, every moment of divine ecstasy has been training you to expand your field to hold it all. You were never broken, you were being tempered. The third sign is that you're deeply empathic, but not in the way people talk about it on social media. You don't just feel people's emotions, you absorb collective frequencies. You walk into a room and immediately sense the tension behind the smiles. You scroll through the news and feel the pain that most people block out. You've probably thought at times that you were too sensitive for this world. But the truth is, your sensitivity is a superpower. It's the very thing that allows you to navigate the forces most people are blind to. The key is learning to feel without fusing, to witness without becoming what you observe. The fourth sign is that you've had spontaneous spiritual awakenings or breakdowns that turned into breakthroughs, moments where reality cracked open and something beyond this world came rushing in. Maybe it was during a near-death experience. Maybe it was in meditation. Maybe it happened when you lost everything and had nothing left but your breath. These moments weren't accidents. They were activations, glimpses into the multidimensional nature of who you really are. And once you've seen through the veil, you can't go back. Duality becomes impossible to ignore. You know there's more, and now you're being called to embody that knowing. The fifth sign is that you're constantly being tested not by a cruel universe, but by your own higher self. Every time you think you've figured it out, something comes along to stretch you even further. Every time you settle into ease, a new challenge arises to see if you'll choose fear or faith. This isn't punishment. It's precision. You've been chosen not because it's easy, but because you can handle it. You are being molded into someone who can hold the sacred tension without flinching, who can walk into the fire and carry the flame out intact. Your tests are not obstacles, they are refinements. The sixth sign is that you felt the presence of both divine light and dense darkness sometimes in the same breath. You've met angels in silence. You've felt demons in your dreams. You've seen visions no one else believed, and you've carried truths too heavy to speak aloud. This is not madness. This is the territory of the chosen. To walk the line between worlds is to see what others refuse to see. But the gift isn't in the seeing, it's in the integration. Can you witness the dark without getting pulled into it? Can you honor the light without becoming blinded by it?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
And the seventh sign, the most important one, is that you've always known deep down that you were here for something more. Even when you doubted yourself, even when you tried to numb it out, shut it down, or ignore it, the call never left. It stayed, watching, waiting, whispering to you in moments of stillness. There's a reason you're here, and that reason is not fame, not fortune, not comfort, it's frequency. You are here to walk between the worlds, to balance the unseen, to embody the paradox. And in doing so, you don't just shift your own life, you shift the entire field around you. But now, here's the real question. What does it truly take to live as someone who holds duality? To walk through the world as a stabilizer of energy, a guardian of balance, a transmitter of truth. That's what we explore next. If you've made it this far, then you're not just curious, you're remembering. And this memory isn't of something new, it's of something ancient. Something encoded in your soul long before you were born. But memory alone isn't enough, because the moment you begin to remember who you are, what follows is the burden of that remembrance, the weight of responsibility, the truth that walking between light and dark is not a badge of honor, it's a sacred task that comes with a cost most are unwilling to pay. That's why only 1% can truly hold duality. Because while the world seeks comfort, the gatekeepers of frequency are forged through discomfort, through fire, through the unbearable silence that comes when your path is too unique for others to understand. To hold both light and dark is to live in a constant state of awareness. You don't get to numb out. You don't get to hide behind ignorance. You see the truth in people before they speak. You feel the distortion in systems before others even notice. You sense the energetic ripple of events before they happen. And this sensitivity, though it is your gift, is also your greatest test. Because when you carry this level of awareness, you are always in the in-between. You can't fully join the light without acknowledging the shadow it casts. And you can't fully descend into the dark without remembering the spark within it. You are the bridge. And being the bridge means being stretched every day of your life. You will often feel invisible, misunderstood. Not because people don't care, but because your truth pierces through illusion, and most people are still clinging to their illusions for survival. You will walk into a room and feel the dissonance behind every smile. You will hear the words people say and feel the pain they're hiding underneath. You will want to reach out, to help, to fix, but you must learn restraint. Because not everyone is ready to be seen. And not every shadow wants to be healed. Sometimes your role is simply to hold the frequency, to remain unwavering, to become the silent lighthouse in the storm even when no one is looking at you. And sometimes the hardest part isn't what you see in others, it's what you see in yourself. Because to hold duality, you must constantly confront your own inner polarities, your own light, your own shadow, your own love, your own fear. It's not enough to preach peace, you must wrestle with the war inside you. It's not enough to talk about truth, you must speak it even when your voice shakes. You must be willing to meet the darkest parts of yourself without flinching, to sit with your own chaos without running. That's what makes you powerful, not the absence of darkness, but your ability to stand in it with eyes wide open. There will be nights where you question everything, where the pain of holding this balance becomes too much, where your soul aches for something simple, something aft, something easy. But those are the nights you grow the most. Those are the nights the universe watches closely, not to test you, but to temper you. Because every time you choose to stay present with the pain, to breathe through the fear, to love in the face of rejection, you are becoming the embodiment of the force you were sent here to hold. You are becoming the frequency itself. And let's be honest, this path is lonely. Not because you're alone, but because so few can walk beside you without projecting their own unhealed parts onto your light. You become a mirror. And mirrors are rarely loved, they are either worshipped or shattered. People will either pedestal you or try to tear you down. But neither is the truth. The truth is this: you are not here to be seen. You are here to see. You are not here to be understood. You are here to understand. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to accept the totality of existence, and in doing so, become the space where opposites dissolve into wholeness. You will have moments of rage, moments where you want to shut it all off, moments where you curse your sensitivity, your intuition, your depth. But if you listen closely in those moments, you'll hear something underneath the noise. A voice. RC. Still. Unshakable. It says, you're doing what others can't. You're holding what others won't. And in that moment, you'll remember that this isn't about being special. It's about being willing. Willing to hold the line, willing to stand in the gap, willing to carry the codes of balance, not just for yourself, but for the collective. So I ask you now, are you willing to carry the burden of awareness even when it isolates you? Are you willing to embody truth even when it costs you everything? Because that's what separates the curious from the chosen. That's what separates the seeker from the gatekeeper. The world doesn't need more light workers who only seek comfort. It needs frequency warriors, souls who can hold the paradox without breaking, souls who can feel the pain of the world without being consumed by it, souls who can walk through the valley of shadows and still choose to radiate light, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And when you fully accept that burden, something shifts. You stop asking for the path to be easier. You start asking to become stronger. You stop looking for a way out. You start looking for a way through. And that's when you truly begin to embody your purpose, not as an idea, but as a living frequency, a stabilizer, a transmitter, a walking portal between worlds. But what does that embodiment actually look like in real life? What are the practices, the disciplines, the inner technologies that allow a chosen one to stay grounded in the midst of chaos, centered in the eye of the storm? When you finally stop resisting your role as a holder of duality, you step into something even more profound. You become a living portal, a bridge between dimensions, a transmitter of unseen forces, not through mystical theatrics or dramatic rituals, but through the quiet, disciplined embodiment of energy so subtle, most people never even notice it. That's the paradox. The more powerful you become energetically, the less you need to prove it. True spiritual power is not loud. It's not in your words, your crystals, or your social media posts. It's in your presence, in the way your very being alters the frequency of a room before you even speak. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Being a portal requires practice. You don't just wake up and hold multi-dimensional frequency because you read a few spiritual books or had a mystical dream. You become a portal through daily devotion, through spiritual athleticism, through the mastery of your nervous system, your breath, your focus, and your intention. You become the kind of person who can hold paradox in your cells, not just in your mind. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. Not in fantasy, but in the day-to-day grind of being human while holding galactic codes. Because balancing the light and dark is not just a mental concept, it's a lifestyle. It's a sacred rhythm. And without rhythm, your energy will get hijacked by the chaos of the world. The first practice is energetic hygiene. Just like you brush your teeth and wash your face, your field needs cleansing every single day. Because when you are this sensitive, this tuned in, you're picking up and absorbing energies constantly, some of which aren't even yours. And if you don't clear them, you'll start mistaking them for your own emotions. That's when burnout, anxiety, and confusion creep in. So each morning, before the world touches your nervous system, you clean your field. That could mean breathwork. That could mean shaking, movement, or even silence. I personally visualize golden light pouring through me and sweeping out anything that doesn't belong. It's not about the method, it's about the intention. You're saying to the universe, I take responsibility for the frequency I carry today. The second practice is anchored breath. Not just breathing to stay alive, but breathing to remember who you are. When you breathe with presence, you stop the spinning of the mind. You drop into the body. You enter the now. And in the now, all timelines collapse. All worries dissolve. All future projections and past regrets lose their grip. This is where true power lies. You can do this anywhere, on a train, in traffic, at work. Inhale slowly through the nose. Hold. Exhale even slower through the mouth. Feel yourself expanding, grounding, returning. This is how you reset your vibration in real time. The third practice is polarized neutrality. Sounds contradictory, right? But this is the mastery. To hold both extremes, joy and grief, love and rage, life and death, in the same breath, without identifying with either. This doesn't mean apathy. It means presence. When someone triggers you, instead of reacting, you become the space that observes the reaction. You don't suppress it. You allow it. You feel it. But you don't become it. You hold both the light of compassion and the fire of boundaries. You don't choose one over the other, you merge them. That's the portal. That's the power. And it must be practiced in the little moments, when you wake up late, when someone cuts you off, when someone misunderstands your truth. How do you respond? That's where the embodiment is tested. The fourth practice is devotional stillness. Every day, carve out time to sit in silence, not to meditate for a result, not to manifest something, but to listen. To be with yourself. No music, no guidance, just you and the void. Because the void is not empty, it's full. Full of intelligence, full of instructions. You will receive downloads, insights, and recalibrations in this stillness that no book can give you. This is how you remain aligned, not by forcing clarity, but by making space for it. Most people avoid this because it's uncomfortable. The silence reveals what you've been running from. But if you can stay in that discomfort without fleeing, you'll access wisdom that can bend reality. The fifth practice is sacred movement. Your body is not just a vehicle for your soul, it's an antenna, a transmitter. And it stores every emotion, every memory, every belief. If you don't move, you stagnate. If you don't move with intention, you exist by default. So move like the portal you are. Dance, stretch, walk barefoot. Let your body become the prayer. Let your movement become a meditation. This is not about fitness, it's about flow. When your energy flows, your life flows. And finally, the sixth and most overlooked practice, radical honesty. You cannot be a portal if you lie to yourself. You cannot hold truth if you're constantly avoiding it. Start telling the truth even when it's messy, even when it's inconvenient. Speak what's real. Feel what's real. Admit what's real. Because duality doesn't ask you to be perfect, it asks you to be whole. And wholeness starts with honesty. So I ask you now, with no filters, where are you still betraying your own frequency to be accepted? Where are you still shrinking to make others comfortable? That's where your portal begins to close. That's where your power leaks. And that's what the world is begging you to reclaim. The more you commit to these practices not as chores but as sacred rituals, the more your field becomes unshakable. The more you can walk through this world not reacting to it, but recalibrating it. You don't just survive the chaos, you transmute it. This is what it means to be a chosen one. Not to escape the world, but to hold a new one inside of you so powerfully that it begins to ripple outward. But even with all this, there's one final dimension of the journey that most never reach: service. How do you take this embodied power and use it to uplift, awaken, and heal not just yourself but the world? There comes a point in your awakening where the journey stops being about you. Not because you've completed your healing, not because you've transcended the human experience, but because you've remembered who you really are at the deepest level. And when that remembrance clicks into place, you stop asking, "What is my purpose?" And you start realizing, "I am the purpose." Not in a self-centered way, but in a frequency-based way. You realize that your very being, your presence, your vibration is the mission. The work is no longer something outside of you. It's what you carry into every room, every conversation, every breath. That's what separates the truly chosen ones from the seekers. The seekers look for a path. The chosen become the path. When you carry the duality of light and dark with integrity, you become a stabilizer for the collective. You become a tuning fork for those who have forgotten their own resonance. You don't need a stage. You don't need a title. You don't even need to be known. Because real service doesn't beg for attention, it radiates from alignment. It speaks in silence. It whispers in actions. And it transforms reality without needing credit. That's the ultimate level of impact. When your energy shifts people before your words even reach them. But here's the part they don't tell you: service isn't always glamorous. It's not always about leading retreats or starting movements. Sometimes service looks like showing up with presence when everyone else is triggered. Sometimes it's holding your family together energetically, even when they don't understand you. Sometimes it's being the one who sees truth in a world drunk on illusion and choosing not to look away. Sometimes it's just being kind when your own heart is breaking. The ego wants purpose to be grand, but the soul knows that the frequency behind your actions is what makes them sacred. And the truth is, once you become the frequency, you stop chasing outcomes. You're no longer obsessed with whether or not things work. You're not measuring your worth by results. You're not performing spirituality. You're embodying it. You show up as love because you are love. You speak truth, not for applause, but because you can't not speak it. You bring light, not to be admired, but because you've become a vessel for something bigger than you. That's the frequency of service. It's not transactional, it's transcendent. And you'll notice something strange as you start living this way. Life starts bending around you. People are drawn to you without understanding why. Opportunities appear without you forcing them. Healing happens in your presence with no effort. Why? Because you're not just doing spiritual things, you become a field, a bioenergetic invitation for others to rise. Not because you're trying to fix them, but because you've stopped abandoning your own resonance. You've become a beacon, a signal, a sovereign frequency in a fragmented world. But even this level of embodiment brings its own final test, the test of consistency. Can you show up in devotion when no one is watching? Can you keep your heart open when the world closes down? Can you hold the field when everything in your life is shaking? Because the chosen ones don't serve only when it's convenient. They become the service. Every thought, every word, every moment becomes an offering. Every interaction is an altar. Every breath is a prayer. So here's the final question I leave you with. Can you allow your life to become a living transmission? Can you let go of needing to be understood, validated, or rewarded and simply be the frequency you came here to anchor? Because that's what the world needs now. Not more noise, not more seeking, but more being. More souls who carry stability in chaos. More humans who walk with both shadow and light integrated in their bones. More living portals who radiate truth without saying a word. If you've heard the call, answer it. If you've felt the pull, surrender to it. If you've recognized the signs, embody them. Because you were never meant to just witness the shift. You were born to be it.